All right, so today we want to talk a little bit about the publishing industry because I hear a lot from authors and readers, why don't publishers do this? Why don't publishers do that? And I'm not sure it's a them problem or it's an us problem, but it's one of the two. And if you can figure it out, you're smarter than I am. But let me kind of go through where I think the problem comes from, and then we'll see if we can decide whose problem it is. A book publisher makes most of their money, most of their revenue comes from the back catalog, old books, Magic of Kryn, which is from the 80s, Tolkien, Star Wars, Star Trek, stuff that came out years ago, Tarzan, back catalog, Stephen King stuff dating back to whenever Stephen King started. The back catalog is where they make 60 to 70% of their sales and revenue. That's more than half, pushing three quarters, depending on the publisher. Now, the market split is important because, well, the front list, the new releases that are less than a year old, they make up the majority of the hype. If Lee Child has a new book, if whoever your favorite author has a new one, that creates some hype. The new New York Times bestseller by Margaret Atwood, whatever. That's where the hype comes from. But still, the backlist is where they're making most of their revenue. So think about this for a minute. Profitability comes from that backlist because the current stuff, if I go put something out, or if I get a publisher to pick up one of my books, they've got to go through a lot of upfront expense. They've got to go through acquisition, advances, editing, cover art, all that stuff, and marketing costs. All of that is expensive. And with the back catalog, they don't really have to do all that, right? So there's not nearly as much money that has to be spent to keep the back catalog churning in that cash. And is the now think about that for a minute. As the backlist revenue keeps those companies going, it pays the overhead, it pays the staff, it pays the lights, it pays marketing, it absorbs financial losses from books that don't make any money that come out that sell 400 copies. And when publishers are acquired, so if like one publishing house buys another publishing house, it's not the new catalog, it's not the new stuff that really makes up the value of that company, it's their back catalog that does. Now, is that a them problem? Or is that an us problem? Because I post a lot of stuff about books online. And if I'm posting something about a new book I'm reading, maybe somebody will come up and say something. If I'm posting about something I wrote, maybe somebody will come up and say something. It's kind of nice when you do. And I've sold a lot for an indie author, right? I'm up over 20 something thousand books, paid copies sold, and millions of pages on Kindle Unlimited. So I do well as an indie author, better than some books that are actually published by traditional publishers. But it's still they won't pick it up because that back catalog is the risk. Now, think about this for a minute. Somebody barely speaks about mine, somebody barely speaks about other new authors that I'm working on. They might say, "Oh, hey, I like your stuff. I like your," and if you dig in and talk to them, they probably haven't read it. And that's okay. Thank you for the comments anyway. But the back catalog gets talk, right? So I reread the first six books in the Dragonlance series over the last couple of weeks, and the number of comments are enormous. Like, oh, I remember these books. I'm gonna have to go reread those. A number of people, and I get this one all the time. I read those every year. How many people do you know that say, I read Tolkien every year? I read this book every year. I rewatch these movies every year. That's the back catalog at play. Now, if you reread six, seven, eight books every year, that's cool. I'm good. I'm happy you do that, right? But if it's the same six, seven, eight books and you don't ever pick up a new one, kind of disappointed because as an author who's still writing, I'd kind of like you to pick up one of mine, right? But we need to stop complaining about the publishing houses if we're going to be the problem of supporting that back catalog far more than you support the newer stuff. So is it them or is it us? I don't really know. And if you can figure it out, you're smarter than I am. But that's the numbers, right? So you always want to, if you want to solve a problem, you always got to follow the numbers. And the numbers, say back catalog is where they're making money. So why take the risk? If you're a business owner, risk can kill you. Anyway, everybody have a good day. We'll talk soon.